Alright guys, welcome. If you are seeing this video, it's because you purchased, my monthly Excel tracking spreadsheet. So, thanks for buying it, guys. Tells me you guys are serious. You guys want my spreadsheet that badly. And so, as promised in the video, I'm not going to let you guys down. I'm not going to just give this sheet to you and expect you guys to learn it. Like, I'm going to thoroughly make sure you know how to use Excel if you don't already, and show you how I do, all of my formulas, like every little thing about this spreadsheet. I'm going to show you how I do it. So we got a lot to go over. Let's get started. So let's see, I got some notes here to make sure I don't miss anything. So first thing, before we even get started, you obviously got an email from me with this file, this Excel file. Before you're making any edits, putting in any formulas, I want you to make a duplicate copy, right? Drag this sheet off from your email to your desktop and make a duplicate copy. Name one copy like blank sheet, Kyle's sheet, and make the other copy your sheet, right? Your name or whatever is going to remember that's yours, and then the other file is going to be blank because for whatever reason, if you mess up on your sheet, if a formula goes whack and you can't undo it, you can always go back to the original sheet, which will be this right here. And this will be no screw ups, right? This is exactly how it comes. I made sure everything should correct. All the formulas are intact here. So for whatever reason, if you screw up on one file, you can always come back and restart on a blank file, right? That way you're not emailing me back and forth looking for a new sheet. All right. Second thing, some of you probably use Google Sheets over Excel. So I'm going to take the first minute to show you Google Sheet users. If you got an Excel file from me in the email, I will show you how to upload it to Google Sheets to make sure you can use it on Google Sheets, and everything will go over the formulas and all. So first we go to here, Google, right? Go to Google Drive. I'm sure if you use Google Sheets before, you know how to do this. You go to New, and you want to upload file right here, right? You upload file, and all of a sudden you can now see trading calendar template. Click here, boom, uploading one item. Complete, perfect. Click here. Now here, it shows you everything what it looks like, but you want to put it on open in Google Sheets. Boom. It's going to give you a new tab. It's going to load, let it load. Give it a second here. It's loading. Boom. Right? Everything's here. It looks just like Google Sheets. It is Google Sheets. And now you have the exact template, on your Google Sheets. Okay? So we got that out of the way. Everything should be working fine. The formulas are all there. I've triple checked this. So now that you have both, let's get started. So first thing, I'm going to go every formula, every cell, how it all works. So first thing is the weekly addition formulas. So you see all these zeros here, right? 0, 0, 0. This is summing up each week, right? It's pretty self-explanatory by looking at the formula or by looking at the calendar. But if you click on it, see this bar up here? This is where you're going to see all your formulas. Unfortunately, I have it cut off, but you see where my mouse is right here? If you keep going to the part of the right, you're going to see a little arrow. You can pull down this formula little bar right here, okay? That's going to allow you to, if the formula gets too big, you can always see it. But just so you know, this is where the formulas are. So if you click on the formula bar, see how these lights up? These tell you what cells you're using. So I have equals. Equal sign starts any formula in cell, right? If you ever want to start a formula, you press equals into the cell, right? So I have equals F6 plus E6. That's going to get me the total end. So I'll hit enter, right? So I'll do it actually for you guys. If I delete it, there's nothing there, right? I start it, I press equal sign, and now I can click whatever cell I want, right? This cell, plus sign, this cell, boom, equals. You get it, and it's for everything. So right, next month or next week, right? I have all these 5. The next one, all these 5, and that's already input for you on every single week that I have for 2020 and 2021. You could also change it up. You could do different. You don't have to do it all these plus signs, right? If I say I delete this, I delete them all, right? So now there's no formulas in this. I can do equals, and now you can actually type in the name of certain formulas, and Excel will know. You're pretty much telling Excel what you want to do. So if I type in SUM, sum, like addition sum, and I start off with a parentheses facing away from the word, right? It now knows you're making a formula. So I want to do this file or this cell all the way over to this, right? Monday through Friday, right? You drag them all, enter. It's going to give you the same thing, right? It's the same exact formula. This formula, just all the 5 days plusing each other, and the equals sum formula and just dragging all the cells is going to give you the same thing. Why I chose to do plus all the days, it just was my personal preference, but you can more than welcome to use the sum formula, okay? And because you see right here, it says B8 dot colon through F8. Right, that's telling you it's this cell through this cell, right? So let me go back here, delete this. So again, this sign plus this plus the 9th plus the 10th. Whoops, screwing up for me. Nope. See, cell can get confusing here. Boom. Then you go back up to here, plus again, plus the 10th. So again, that's how you do it. Next one is inputting your trades into date. Like if I take a trade on Tuesday or on Thursday, January the 2nd, how do I get my PnL to show in this exact cell that will lead to adding up in this formula at the end of the week? So you guys do not have this in your Excel file because this doesn't come with it, but I am going to show you how my trades are tracked and how I put them into here. So again, like I said, I don't want to spoon for you. I want to make sure you can, branch off on your own and use Excel on your own because again, you got to be self-sustainable. I'm not going to be here forever. So I am going to show you how I do track my trades, but ultimately you can either copy me, you can pause this video and look at it enough to where you can mimic it, but I want you to do it yourself so you really, really get to it. So you can start a new tab, right? If you do a plus sign, it's gonna have a new sheet, right? But I already made this sheet for us and I called it trades, right? So I'll briefly go over it just to make sure you understand it. I've got exchange, right? OTC or NASDAQ, the ticker, the sector it's in, the broker I used, right? You might have like, E-Trade, you type that in, the position, whether I went long or short, you could write bias, or direction, long or short, the size I took, how many shares, average entry, average exit, the date I took it, right? And the PnL at the end, right? The broker is going to give you the PnL at the end, so you can just type that in there. The percentage gain and the net gain and loss. The net gain and loss is not net; it just means cents. So I'm making this on January 10th. Today I traded BLOZF and I made 8.5 cents, right? And I traded AGTC. I made 52 cents, right? This is the setup on this side, and then the win loss I will go over when we go over win percentage. So hold on there. I will tell you what the ones mean in a little bit. So anyway, back to here. We want to know how to put these, PnLs into days. So if you go to trades, right, I have the PnL here. So how you get it there is, this is the 10th, right? I traded those two tickers on the 10th. So again, we're going to start with the equal sign, equals. Now, like I said, instead of clicking a cell, instead of clicking any one of these cells, I'm going to change it up and go to a different, tab, right? Take it a tab, and all of a sudden you see now equals, trades, exclamation point. That's telling you I am now clicking a cell on the trades tab, but that will go into the monthly PnL tab, right? So I click here, again, plus sign, and I click here. So now you see it, trades tab J2, which is the BLOZF profit, and trades tab J3, which is the AGTC profit. Again, you press enter, boom, right? Both the same formula, it's right there, right? It shows you the trades tab of J2, trades tab of J3 added together gets me $800, right? And you could test that by saying, if I go equals sum, right, change it up, different formula, and I drag it down like this, enter, 8299, 8299, right? That's how I do it, and I do that for every day. So like, next week I'm going to trade on the 15th. I will, equal sign, go over to the trades tab, and I will just add up all the trades I took for that day, right? If you're watching this, you're under PT most likely. Maybe you're above PT. The point is, you can add up as many trades as you want, right? I can go plus sign again, back to the trades tab, and I can just do this day, plus this day, plus this day. I mean, you could be endless, right? You could just keep adding up all these days. Of course, there wasn't any PnL in those cells I traded, so it's just going to stay at 802.99. Okay, so you got that. We'll delete that there. Next is going to be borrow fees, right? So if you are a short seller like me, there's going to be borrow fees, right? I like being meticulous and knowing how much I'm paying. If borrow fees are too expensive, I wouldn't know unless I'm tracking them, right? Then you need to know how expensive they are, and so I track them. I use the sum formula, as you see here, right? Sum parentheses 0 sign. So that gives you, my borrow fees are 0, right? But how I do it in my Excel file, and how you can certainly copy me if you want. I have another tab. So let's call this borrows, right? And say I have the date. Oops, spelled date wrong. I got the ticker. I have the cost, like how much was the borrow fee, and how many shares I took, right? So say it's today, let's say it's 1-1020. Let's say I borrowed, BLOZF. I didn't. I traded IB, so it was free. Borrow cost was free. But let's say I'm at Center Point, or I'm at Cobra, or I'm at Trade Zero, and you have to pay a borrow fee to get borrows. Let's say it's negative 5 cents a share. That's pretty expensive for BLOZF, but let's just say it is. Let's say I wanted to borrow 2,000 shares, right? So now you would do total cost, right? And then we'll do no formula. So it equals, remember, this, and now to do it times that little asterisk. See this right here? For my keyboard on the Mac, it's under the letter 8 or the number 8. Shift 8 gets you this little times sign, and then you press it again. So it's going to be 0.05 times 2,000, which will get you 100, negative 100, right? So now that we go back to PnL, we have the sum formula, right? You delete it. Now we have sum. It wants us to input a cell for it to sum up. Again, just like the trades tab, we go over to the borrows tab and we click here, enter, negative 100. Boom, it's there. And again, you could do this forever. So I could do say this is negative 50 and this is negative 75. Again, you can go again over here, delete this part. Remember, the sum is ready for you to put in insert cells, and you just drag it instead of just putting 1. So now it's E2 through E4, right? Enter again. Now it's $224 in borrows, okay? Again, to reset it, you can always just delete it and press 0. Done. Back to 0. Okay? And again, don't feel, I'm kind of going quickly. I understand I've been doing this a long time, but feel free to watch this back as many times as you need, right? This video is not going anywhere, right? You paid for it. You're going to be able to see this DVD. For whatever reason, if you use the link, like it's in the email, you'd always email me again for the same link to watch it as many times as you need to, okay? Now we're going to go through these formulas, like all these down below here. So average win, right? Like equals sum, there's equals average, right? You see the formula up here, equals average in parentheses 0. That's what gets you 0. So for a win, it's the same way I go to the trades tab. So if we go equal, so let's completely delete this so you can see how I do it. It's delete, so nothing's there, right? We go equals AVERAGE, average. And remember, you start it with the parentheses. The first parentheses here is going to let Excel know you want to start inputting cells. So now I go to my trades tab, and I'm looking at average wins. So again, I will drag this down, J2 through J3, enter. So now that's going to give my average win. It's going to give you BLOZF's profit and AGTC's profit to average out to $400. Average loss. Now, I don't have any losses on my trades tab right now, right? But if we go, here, let me delete this, and say, I took a couple losses, negative 200, or negative 20, negative 150, negative 250, right? So now we have losses, right? We go back to here, we go to average loss. Remember, delete the zeros. Go to trades tab, and again, you can just drag it down. Boom. Average loss would be 140 between those two. Now, this looks pretty easy, but what happens? You're loading up your trades, and all of a sudden you're gonna have a mix of profits, right? You have $50 win here, negative $30 win here, nice $400 win there, and then another loss, like say negative 125, right? So now all your wins and losses are scattered, right? How do I can't just drag the sum or the average formula through them and get the same number, right? So what a lot of people don't know is you can separate them. So we're going to go to average win. I have the trades J2 through J3, right? Now you press comma. Okay, see this? Number 1, number 2. Putting a comma lets you separate data, right? But it's still going to input it all in the same formula. So again, we go back to trades. We've already got these two cells from the first. That's J2 and J3. You go back down to here, that one. So now it's J7. Put another comma. Okay, it wants number 3 now. Go to J9. Boom. Enter. It's going to give you the average of all those trades without including any of the average losses, right? You can do equals average and drag through all those trades, but you're going to get the sum of every trade together, all your losses and your gains combined. You don't want that, right? That's not going to give you what you want. So again, we'll do this again. We have, and I'll delete the whole thing. So literally, we're going to go through the whole thing, so we make sure we get it. Boom. So again, there's no average loss formula right now. Equals average. You spell it average. First parentheses. We go to trades tab. We want, see, remember, these are together, so we can drag them. Those three together. Oh, we're caught with a win, right? We don't want to drag that win into the formula. Comma, this loss, comma, that loss. Enter, right? That will give you the average. And you do this for every single one. So average percent, average loss, average percent gain, average percent loss. We can do the same thing here, right? We get rid of the 0, we go over to trades tab, and instead of doing the PnL, we do the percent win, right? Drag it down, enter. Average gain would be 7 or 8.27%, right? We can do the same thing with losses, right? We do -5%. Let's see here, make sure it's looking the same here as percentages. -500, whoa, no, -5. Boom. Let's do -3, right? Let's do another win. 4. Oh, 400. 4, boom. 2. Okay, same exact thing, right? We do average loss, over to trades, drag it down, average loss will be 4%. Let's add the new wins that we have, comma, back to trades. They're together, so we can drag those down, separated by the comma from the first two and the last two, enter. Average will now be 5.86%. And then, I don't think I need to show you for the net gain, but it's the same thing. It would be the same thing, but I go to trades and I just calculate the cents, right? If there were cents here, I can start categorizing by the comma and just getting all those in. Okay. Max and min, right? So we have biggest profit, biggest loss, biggest percent gain, biggest percent loss, biggest net gain, biggest net loss. So again, it's going to be this very similar, but instead of using the average formula, we're going to use the max and minimum, right? If you type in, like, let's delete the cell, sorry, with the equals, if you do MAX, right, max, you want to look for the maximum cell that you can find, right? And you start with the parentheses. You go back to trades tab. Now this one you don't have to separate by a comma. Why? Because when when Excel looks for the maximum PnL, right, or it's looking for the biggest number, it's going to show you your biggest gain, right? If there's a -1,000,000 PnL on there, that's not the biggest. That's the minimum, right? That's the smallest. So you can be easy here, and you don't have to complicate things, and you can just drag it all, right? Because it'll do it for you. You press enter. Biggest gain would have been 544, which is the BLOZF trade, because that is the biggest number in this data set of cells, right? If I deleted that, the next biggest would be 400. And if you go here, it's going to fix that for you. 400. Okay, so that makes sense. Now, same thing with loss. Biggest loss. Now, let's delete it. Start with the equal sign. Just type in MIN, right? We're looking for minimum. Remember, parentheses. Now it's want numbers. So we go here. Again, be lazy. You don't have to get the commas in. Just drag it all out. Now, before we even look, clearly the biggest loss here is going to be 250, right? So that should show up. -250. There you go, right? And so before I go any further, you can be very efficient and look at Google. Like if you want to find out the standard deviation or the median or all these statistical formulas that you want to find, typically there is a number for it, right? Like I said, there's equals minimum, there's equals maximum, there's equals average. Googling or YouTubing, there's going to be someone to teach you what particular phrase that Excel wants that will allow you to get that formula. That's how I did it. So if you're ever stumped, if you're ever going to get really advanced and want to find the standard deviation or all these different things, there's highly likely that there is a formula for it, and you just got to find it. So that's that. So again, it's the same thing for average percent gain. We would do the max and do just all these cells, minimum, all these cells, for net gain, max, and min. I don't think I need to go over it. You guys get it. It's very repetitive once you get used to it. So yeah. All right. Let's keep going here. All right. Through the notes. Win rate. Right? This little puppy right here. This is going to be maybe the most difficult one, but it's not that difficult, right? I'm going to go very slow here to make sure you guys understand. Okay. So it's in percentages. This is a percentage, right? Before I go any further, and how do I get these in percentages? How do I get these in PnLs or just numbers? You can always right-click, format cells, and now percentage. See how this is clicked? I can have 3 decimal places, 2 decimal places. I can do just a general number. I can do a time, like if I want PM, but I want percentage, right? That's going to give me those percentages there, and I made sure to do that for here, right? So I go right-click, format cells. See, it's on percentage. So just to make sure, whatever form that you get and it's not in a percentage, make sure you format it correctly. Right-click it, go to format, make sure you get percentage in there. Okay? So win rate. There are now 2 formulas in one, right? This is where you can get very complex with Excel. You see here, it says equals sum divided by, like when you do a little dash like this, when you do a side or a slash like this means divided. Excel thinks that's a divide sign, right? Just like the asterisk is a times, right? The dash is a divide. So we have equals sum over equals count. What does that do? Like we said, we know what the sum formula does. The sum formula just adds up whatever numbers you give it, right? If you give it 5 and 5, it's going to sum it up to 10, right? What the count formula does, the count formula just counts how many cells you've covered, right? So if I do equals, spell out count, parentheses, and I just drag, these cells, boom, it didn't work there, right? Normally in certain formulas, it's going to tell you, it's going to count how many inputted cells are there. So maybe if I do this, maybe if I go 5, 10, or whoops, let me go, it's 4. See how we're adding up, 5 again. So when you input numbers into the cells you want to count, it's going to count how many cells have inputs in them, right? So now we have 3. If we keep going, I think I covered, most of these 4, 2, right? So it keeps counting them because I covered these cells in that formula, right? So what this does is it's going to count the amount of, it's going to sum up the number of trades and count the number of cells that have the data points in them, right? So that's why I have these 1s and 0s, right? If we drag this down, I have a formula that gives you 1 if it's a win, right? And 0 if it's a loss. Now, how do I do that? You see the formula up here. There is it's sum or it's equals if, right? It's an if and then statement. So let me completely delete this and show you how to do this, right? So there's no number here. It's not going to give you one. You go equals if this number, right? You want this number. Sorry, I didn't put parentheses. Make sure there's a parenthesis there to get it going. If J2, which is your PnL, is, you do comma, because now you want, see how it says value if true, right? You want if this cell is this, right? Is it true? Is it false, right? We're on the true. So if this cell is greater than, this is the greater than sign, right? The little triangle facing to the left is greater than 0, meaning if it's positive, right? We want a win, a gain to be bigger than 0. That means we want to give a 1, right? Or I'm sorry, guys. This is why it's so complicated, and I want to make sure you get this. We're going back. If logical test is greater than 0, comma, what do you do if it's true, right? If this cell is greater than 0, meaning it's a gain, what do we want the formula to put in? We want a 1, right? And what do we want to put in if it's false, right? If it's less than 0, what do we want us to do? We want it to give me a 0, right? You see how that works, right? If the PnL cell is greater than 0, give me a 1. If it's not, meaning it's negative, give me a 0. You hit enter, boom, gives me a 1, right? We drag this down. All these numbers are going to stay the same because that's how the formula is built, right? So I know it's very complicated. There are probably other YouTube videos on how to do it, so go ahead and look that up. Watch this back. Make sure you get that. So again, one more time to make sure we get it. If this cell right here, actually, let's go to another one, right? We don't need to do this. We'll go to like the middle, right? It's a 0. If J6, right, this PnL cell is greater than 0, which it isn't because it is negative, it is a loss, then we're going to give us a 0, right? It's not going to give it a 1 because it's not positive, which is why when you press enter, it gives you a 0, okay? So now this is why we use the sum and count formulas, right? So let's completely delete this, and let's start with the equals. So equals, start with the parentheses. If equals sum, start with another parentheses, right? Because we're trying to make it, the sums divided by the counts. So we need to have two, make sure you follow these parentheses correctly because the formulas will not match up if you don't have them right. Equals sum. So again, we're going to sum up the whole thing, right? You don't have to do any commas here. You want to sum up all the rows because you want to sum up all these ones. That's going to tell you how many wins you have, right? And now we close it. We got to make sure this is important. You close it, right? You close it with parentheses. Then you go divided by. You type in count. New parentheses to start. You want to count how many cells have inputs in them. You do this, cover the same amount of cells, so M2 to M10, M2 to M10. Close it with parentheses. Close it with another parentheses. Boom, 44%. right? And now you can, watch how this changes, right? Let's say I go back and I review my trades and I find out I actually have wins. I don't have losses. Let's say this was a $400 win. $400 win. Let's say this was a $100 win. Notice how these are automatically putting in ones for me, right? Because the if statement is telling it it's now greater than 0, so we're going to give it a 1. You go back to PnL, look at that, it changed. It went from 44% to 66% because these ones and zeros changed, right? It's counting all the ones over all the number of cells, which is the same thing as saying, I won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times over 9 trades, right? 6 over 9 is going to get you 66%. Okay, so again, rewatch that. I know that was a lot. Again, this is why I give you the spreadsheet. If you don't even want to do it yourself, you don't have to. This is why you paid for it. But I just want to make sure for those who do want to be self-sufficient and do want to learn this, that is how you do it. Okay. Now let's look at more. Okay, so that is it for this whole monthly calendar, right? These formulas is on every single one of these months for every single year, right? But now we're going to go to the end here of the yearly stats, okay? So again, you see the same format of average win, win percentage, average gain, average loss. What this is, I'm just summing up or averaging up every single month. So you see this average in all the months. If you click on it here, it's just going to tell you it's going to average each win for each month. See how they're highlighted? This is highlighted here, highlighted here. So there's 12 of them, right? If you count the numbers, there's 12 of them because there's 12 months, and it's going to, at the end of the year, it's going to add it up for you, okay? Same thing with average loss, average gain, average percent loss, and the cents gained. Average week is set up, right? This is very, very long, which is why you can bring the bar down, boom. Every week is categorized or colored, right? So by the time you have all your weeks categorized together, it's going to average everything up and give you your average week. Same thing for average month, right? It's 12 of them because there's 12 months, and that's how that works right there. Now, if you're an Excel wizard and you want to find out how to put your 5 biggest wins, 5 biggest losses, please let me know. I'm not an expert in Excel. I actually don't even know if this is possible to do it that way, but from having all of your data input into the months, it is very easy for me, at least, to just scroll through my months and find the biggest wins, right? Or for 2 best days, 2 worst days, it takes 5 minutes to say, I made 2,000 on the 16th. All right, let's keep scrolling. Any day's bigger than 2,000. And I made 3,000 on the 14th, right? And you can, after a couple minutes of looking through all your months and all your days, you can find out, my 2 best days were, March 14th and November 10th, right? And you just put that in there. Same thing with best week, same thing with best month, and then biggest wins, looking at your trades tab, you can just look through the year and be like, okay, this was a $1,000 gain, this was a $2,000 gain, the $3,000 gain I had was the biggest, right? So you can just start finding those top 5 and those worst 5 and input them there. Secondly, for total profit, right? This, again, it is going to be the total PnL for each month minus the borrow fees. Now, if you don't want to have the borrow fee, if you want to include the borrow fees, all you do is delete this second bar, right? Watch why I delete it. Watch the cell on borrow fees. Deleted, boom, it goes away. Okay, so if you keep it like this, it's going to sum up all the total months, and that will include borrow fees. If we reverse undo it, right, it's going to give you just PnL, right? Not including borrow fees because I've subtracted them out from the total PnL. It's up to preference for you what you want best. Either way, it's going to give you a number that's accurate to your trading stats. Okay. Now, and last is percent return. So how do you do a basic percent return? For me, I have it on another Excel or another sheet or another tab down below here, but let's just use this tab as an example and you guys can do this. So let's say for the beginning of 2020, right, 2020 here, let's say I started with, $50,000 in capital, right? This is not how much I'm starting with, but it's just an example, right? And by the end of 2020, let's just use the beginning of 2021, right? Let's say I have now $10,000 or $100,000, sorry, right? So clearly, without doing any, if you're good at math, this is 100% return, right? To double your money, it's 100%. But let's confirm that with a formula, right? So we're going to completely delete this, start from scratch. So here we go. We do, remember, equals. Let's start with the parentheses, right? When you're dividing one thing over another, make sure you have parentheses outside of them to make sure it's all connected, right? You want to be neat and precise with your formulas here. So how does this work? To do a percent return, you want to do the formula or the amount you have left with minus the amount you started with, parentheses, right? Subtract those two to get that number, divided by the amount you started with. Enter, 100%. See how that works? Obviously, most of you take an elementary math or middle school math, like I hope they taught you this, but to actually articulate into an Excel file, right? This is how it looks. You got your two files here. It is $100,000 minus 50,000 divided by 50,000 gets you 100%. And again, how do I get percentage here? Right, you right click, format cells, and percentage is right there. Click OK. All right. Now, let's see, make sure here. Now, if you, hopefully, learning this, you have, stuck with it. You're maybe even profitable by the end of 2021, right? And you want to keep going, doing this. Like, you don't need to hit me up for a new one. You can just get very easily, drag all this, copy it, right? Right click, copy, scroll down. Let's go here, right click, paste, and boom, there it is. All the formulas will be there, right? Everything's going to be there. The only thing you got to change is the days, right? Every day, moves on. So if you look at the calendar, if you pull out a calendar, and we go to, can I even go further? 2022. So the first day of 2022 would be January 3rd. So again, I would just retype all this in. 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's very tedious. That's why I did do all of 2021 for you. But if you want to get really advanced, really, years ahead, you can just keep copying, pasting each month, and just inputting the new dates, inputting the new holidays, and you're set, right? You might need to maybe make new formulas, but hopefully by then you've got it all in place. We're just adding it up here at the very beginning of this video, and boom, you got it all there, right? Not including the first, because that's some holiday, but obviously this wouldn't be a holiday in 2021. And lastly, the last thing is here, how do I get this, right? Every cell is its own cell, but how do I get January and the 2020 to fit in its own longer cell? So if you actually look up here, this is already highlighted, merge and center, right? If I go unmerge cells, see how they immediately go back? So January is always in this cell, right? But if you want to center it in a larger cell, you drag the cells you want to center, and you go bar down here to merge and center, and click merge and center. Boom, brings it right back. So now when you click on January, it's not going to show you it, right? But you click on here, this is where January actually is, right? If I want to retype it, I do March. March is going to show up here. I type in here, if I just start typing, oh, it is working. Beforehand, it wouldn't work. But just so you know, the first cell is where clicking on the first cell is where I have the name of the month in. So that is it, guys. Please rewatch as many times. I will offer my, if you likely received, you received an email with this Excel sheet, so feel free to email that back with any questions you have. But again, be resourceful, right? There are many YouTube videos on how to make sure formulas work. I'm hoping that this video was clear enough to make sure they do work for you. But again, thanks so much for purchasing this, guys. I really hope, I've helped you maybe either learn more about Excel if you're already a beginner, or just completely getting started so you can start tracking your trades better and being more organized, and hopefully end up leading this to being profitable, right? So thanks so much, guys, and I will see you guys around later.